I'm not sure how September unfolded for you, but for me, it certainly didn't go exactly as planned. Some days carried a heaviness I didn't expect. A few of my goals quietly slipped through my fingers, and there were moments I would have loved to rewind and live differently. But here's the thought that's been sitting with me. Maybe those endings weren't really failures at all. Maybe they were quiet signals pointing towards something new that October might hold. That's why I want to share this reflection with you, because maybe you too felt that subtle pull, that sense that October is standing there with a different kind of invitation. But the only way to step into it is by deciding to leave September behind. Have you ever noticed how the final stretch of a month feels sharper than the days before it? Almost as if the calendar itself is holding up a mirror, asking you to take stock of what you chose, what you avoided, and what you let slide. The last few days can feel like they're whispering questions you didn't plan on answering. What did you actually finish? What never even got started? What promises did you quietly delay until tomorrow, again and again? September is just 30 days like any other, but its ending carries weight, partly because it's not only closing a month, it's signaling the shift from summer's lightness into autumn's quieter rhythm. That seasonal turn reminds us in a very physical way that time keeps moving forward whether we're ready or not, and that realization alone can make the end of September feel heavier than expected. What's strange is that nothing magical happens when the calendar flips. The sunrise on October 1st looks almost identical to the one on September 30th. The sink still has the same unwashed dishes. The to-do list is still staring back at you. And yet, in your mind, that invisible line between months feels monumental. Endings seem to shine a spotlight on every task you didn't complete, every intention you didn't honor. They magnify absence more than presence. Remember those little bargains you made with yourself in September? I'll do this by the end of the month. But when the deadline arrives, reality hits hard. You didn't. That's when self-criticism tends to speak louder than usual. Psychologists often describe this effect as our brains using endings like checkpoints, moments where we naturally stop and measure. And more often than not, our focus lands on what's incomplete rather than on what we accomplished. That's why an untouched workout plan can feel like a glaring reminder. That book on your nightstand that you swore you'd open but never did, it suddenly feels heavier. Maybe it's the project that's still sitting halfway done on your desk. Maybe it's the reconnection you promised yourself you'd make, but never actually did. These aren't gone just because September ended. They hang in the background like open tabs draining energy without you realizing it. Psychologists sometimes call this effect open loops. They're the unresolved tasks your brain refuses to fully release until they're completed or consciously let go. It's like leaving 10 apps open on your phone at once. The battery drains even when you're not using them. By the final days of September, it's not that the month was more exhausting than others. It's that all those loops tug at your focus at the same time, demanding to be noticed, and that invisible pressure is what wears you down. Picture someone sitting at their desk on September 29th, feeling sluggish, yawning, convinced they're burnt out from overworking. But when you look closer, the fatigue isn't really from nonstop effort. It's from mental clutter, unfinished projects, emails left unanswered, and the constant questioning of whether they lived the month as fully as they hoped. It's not sore muscles weighing them down. It's the mind spinning over what should have happened, but never did. That's why the end of a month can feel like carrying a heavy, unnamed burden. But here's the hopeful shift. That weight is not proof of failure. It's simply your mind nudging you, saying, "You've carried this for too long. Something has to change." It's a signal, not a sentence. Instead of resisting it, you can treat it as awareness, a reminder that life is giving you a pause, a natural checkpoint, a moment to sort through what belongs in the next chapter and what can finally be set down. That rhythm isn't designed to punish. It's built into time to help us grow by noticing. So if September left you feeling heavier than expected, don't mistake it for judgment. That uneasiness is really your own intentions calling out to be acknowledged. And while it may sting in the moment, that pause has purpose. It's giving you clarity before you step forward. Because endings, as uncomfortable as they are, create the space where new beginnings can take root. And that empty space is exactly what allows transformation. October is standing right on the other side of that line, offering the possibility of a reset. But whether or not you take it, that's a choice only you can make. Now imagine if October wasn't just a date on the calendar, but a doorway waiting to be opened. Most people don't see it that way. To them, it's just another stretch of days, another round of routines, the same weight carried over with a new label. But October has a subtle energy if you slow down enough to feel it. The air changes, the pace of the world seems to soften, and in that stillness, there's a pocket of space between what has ended and what hasn't begun. That pause isn't accidental. It's an invitation. The mistake most of us make is confusing a fresh calendar page with a fresh life. We tell ourselves, next month will be better, as if the act of flipping a page will magically erase everything we've been dragging. But habits don't vanish on their own. If you bring the same patterns into October, nothing actually changes. It's like moving into a new house, but carrying every old box of clutter along with you. The walls might be brighter, the floor unscratched, but soon enough, the same mess reappears, because you never shifted what was happening inside. That's what makes October deceptive. On the surface, it feels new, but without intention, it just becomes September dressed in different clothes. Think about January. People flood gyms, buy new journals, make resolutions. The excitement is real, but by February, most of it has faded. The same cycle happens on a smaller scale every month. The fresh start energy feels potent for a while, but it drains away when our choices don't evolve. Psychologists call these moments temporal landmarks. They trick the mind into believing we've stepped into a brand new version of ourselves. But the truth is, unless your habits shift, the label changes, but the contents don't. You're not becoming a new self. You're just renaming the old one. And yet, here's the powerful truth. The moment can work if you claim it. I once heard of someone who chose October as their true reset. They didn't wait for New Year's or a milestone birthday. They declared that October itself was enough of a threshold. Up to that point, they had been dragging themselves through months of distraction and routine. But when October arrived, they treated it like a doorway. They began walking 10 minutes each morning. Their circumstances hadn't changed, but their decision had. By the end of October, they weren't the same person. Not because October gave them something magical, but because they used it to show up differently. That's the lesson. October won't hand you transformation. It won't change your story unless you choose to walk through it carrying something different. If you drag all of September's excuses, fears, and delays across the line, you'll just find yourself circling the same room. But if you step forward with even one new choice, October gains power. The calendar isn't a row of empty squares. It's a built-in rhythm asking you, who do you want to be now? When you begin to see October as intentional, something subtle but profound shifts. It stops feeling like another box to tick and starts looking like a pause designed for you. It was never random. It was always a checkpoint, waiting for your decision. Repeat or renew. And the reset only opens when you choose to press it. So how do you actually press it? If October is a doorway, how do you make sure the step you take lasts? The answer isn't in vague wishing. It's in intentional choices your energy can follow. Reflection is the first step, but transformation begins when reflection becomes action. The reason so many of us repeat the same cycle is because we stop too soon. We think about what went wrong, we make a mental note, maybe even feel motivated for a moment, but then distractions creep back in, and nothing changes. Reflection without action is like noticing a smudge in the mirror, and then walking away without wiping it off. You saw it, but you didn't do anything about it. That's why the next month ends up looking recycled. Same patterns, same struggles, just wearing a different name. So instead of stopping at reflection, treat the close of September as an inventory. Not a punishment, not a scolding, just an honest stocktake. Ask yourself, what am I ready to carry forward, and what finally needs to be left behind? Grab a notebook. Be blunt with yourself. Write down 3 things you refuse to drag into October. Maybe it's a grudge that keeps replaying in your mind. Maybe it's the habit of late night scrolling that keeps stealing your sleep. Maybe it's that voice telling you you're always behind. These loops don't deserve your energy anymore. Naming them out loud strips them of some of their power. Then, on another page, set 3 intentions for October. Not vague ones like be better or work harder. Be specific and real. It could be walking outside each morning before touching your phone. It could be sending that message to someone you've been meaning to reconnect with. It could be choosing patience when irritation is your first instinct. These aren't small. They're powerful because they're doable. Daily actions that give October a shape September never held. Here's why this works. The brain craves closure. Just as closing unused apps makes your phone run smoother, closing open loops clears mental energy. When you stop dragging the unfinished into the future, you create space for something new. October becomes a genuine before and after moment because you decided what ended and what began. I think of someone I knew who carried a job rejection all through September. Every thought about the future was colored by that one sting. But when October arrived, they redefined it. They wrote down, holding onto this rejection as proof of my worth, and marked it as something they were letting go. Then they set a new intention. See rejection as redirection. Within weeks, new opportunities appeared. Ones better aligned than the job they lost. If they had clung to September's weight, they wouldn't have seen October's gift. That's the heart of it. Letting go. Choosing new intentions. That's how October becomes a portal to transformation rather than a copy-paste of what came before. It's not about erasing September. It's about deciding it no longer gets the steering wheel. Because here's the truth. October isn't waiting to impress you. It's waiting for you to arrive with clarity and say, this month will not be the same. The end of September doesn't define you. It equips you. The unfinished goals, the heavy thoughts, they're not evidence of failure. They're reminders that you're still learning, still growing, still shifting. That wait isn't a verdict. It's a starting line. So step into October without dragging every old label. Carry curiosity instead. Ask yourself, who could I become if I stopped replaying the old story? Because October is here. The doorway is already open. The real question isn't whether October will change. It's which version of you will walk through it. The one repeating or the one choosing something new.